To help us unpack this complex issue, we are joined our distinguished voices, Dr. Indranil Basure, Prakash Shah, Corazon Varghese, and James Kurikater. Please give them a round of applause. Dr. Indranil Basure, you can start with them.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you all here. I think brain drain is an important topic, both for us Indo-Americans here as well as for people in India. Since I grew up, I heard there's only one way of brain drain. People coming from India to the US. But now we have bilateral brain drain, which means people from US going to India. We are in a state of affair where India and America are no more the world's richest country and one of the world's poorest countries. India has become the 5th largest economy in the world, and we have the promise that in the next 10 years it will be the world's 3rd largest economy. With that scenario in mind, it is important to have not only a basic understanding of the brain drain, but also discuss it a little further. In this particular discussion, we are not going to talk for or against anything. I'm just going to lay out the scenario, and then we have a very experienced panel. But this should not be a discussion between the panel. This should be a discussion between every one of us. So I want every one of you to ask questions, to give your opinion, because each of your opinion is important for what is going to happen not only to us, but also people in our future, our children's, our grandchildren's, because that's what we are coming to. So when I started, I had no intention of coming to the US or any other country. My intention was, I had an uncle who was in England, who was a doctor. He wanted me to come to England. But then I heard England is a very racist country. It is so racist that if your skin is not as white as they like it to be, you are not going to become a professor, leave alone you are not going to be a faculty. And if your name doesn't sound quite common to what they have, then that's an even bigger problem. So I decided that I cannot use my knowledge to go to a country which is going to choose me based on my skin color. So I'd rather stay in India. So I took the difficult path out, because in India it was, in my time, it was extremely difficult to get into medicine. And it was even more difficult to do MD, which is post-graduation in medicine. And it was super difficult for me to do DM, India's ultimate degree, which in my time I had only 15 seats. Can you believe it? In 140 crore nation, only 15 seats. So I got into that seat and I did my ultimate degree in medicine. And that's why I am a visiting professor in some of the national institutes in India, because you cannot become a visiting professor unless you are you have India's ultimate degree. So then my thought was, why do I want to come to America? The reason was this. I had another part of my life, which I'm going to talk to you guys. So I was spiritually inclined, not religious. I hardly go to temples. I'm a Hindu, I hardly go to temples. And I don't believe, and I have no qualms in saying that you can believe your God whether you go to a church, whether you go to a temple, whether you go to a mosque. That is not important. Your God is for you. You can do your God whichever way you like. In fact, most of the temple, churches and mosques want to use you as an intermediate to reach God, which I believe is absolutely wrong, because my God is with me. I don't want any intermediary to come between me and my God. That's a different thing. So my other interest was, how can we bring the power of a human being to every human being? What do we mean by that? So in my medical school years, I started meditation when I was 6 years of age. And then I learned that there are a lot of things that you can do with your human body that I couldn't even believe it. Because modern medicine taught you that this is not possible, that is not possible. I'll give you a small incident. I was told that you cannot stop your blood pressure because blood pressure is beyond your control. My guru actually showed me how he could stop his blood pressure and his heart anytime he wished. He passed engineering in 1937 and then took to sannyas. So the power of human being is infinite. Today if I find America has got a better deal for me, why was it better for me? Because I wanted to bring this power to the people. So today when I say something, whether it is I'm giving a talk at MIT, Harvard, Berkeley, Georgia Tech, people listen to me. When I go to India and I give a talk at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, they listen to me. Why? Because I just don't talk about yoga. Everything that I talk about yoga comes with science with it, comes with medicine with it. Plus, I do research in a topic called interventional cardiac electrophysiology, which is in the frontiers of medicine. So nobody can say, generally in India you have this idea, oh, Dr. Basure, he's useless, he doesn't even have a practice, so he's busy with yoga. That's what they'll tell you. Nobody can tell me that because half of my research is in interventional cardiac electrophysiology. World's topmost journal it's published. So, human being wants to go to the end point where he can express himself. So, you want to come to the US. That has been story for the last 70-75 years since India's independence. The good news is, thanks to all of you and hundreds and millions of Indians, 140 crore Indians, today a time has come when I have my own friends who was the vice president of one of the top medical companies. Now he lives in a city which once upon a time was one of the dirtiest cities in the world, called Surat. Surat is so beautiful now, it will beat many American cities. And he heads one of the pharmaceutical companies in India. After 25 years in America, he goes back. And vice president in America is not a low post, you can understand. He was involved in entire research in that particular multinational company in the US. So reverse brain drain has also started. Why? Only for one reason. Our culture, it doesn't matter what caste we are, what creed we are, what language we spread, what religion we behave, our culture has taught us that you can achieve anything in this universe. If I have to go to America to achieve this, I'll come to America. If I have to go back to India to achieve this, I'll go back to India. So now we have come to a time where this is happening at a radical basis. I have another person, she just retired, she's just 42, as one of the vice presidents of one of America's largest insurance companies, and she is going back to India. Why? She says that India insurance is 40 years behind. A country like India has got so much capacity that it can buy all the insurances in America. India has that power. One Ambani can buy all the insurance companies in America. World's second or third richest man still. So the question is, in that country where the resources are infinite, why are we not taking advantage of it? One of the chiefs of, that's why I want to name him because everybody knows his name, is present CEO of one of the top IT companies in America. He is a graduate from IIT Kharagpur. His guru, I know him for many years. Dr. Tiwari just retired as the director of IIT Kharagpur. He was, a good average student in IIT Kharagpur. Now he heads one of the largest companies in the US. I'm not going to say more, but what I tell you is, every day you guys go searching things there every day. So, what is the difference? The difference is this, that today US gives you that opportunity to go wherever you want. Only thing that is needed is intensity, purpose, dedication to the cause. And we have come to that stage now where India is started showing some of those. India possibly has the largest number of unicorns, you guys have heard that. Largest number of unicorns are from India. So we talk about Silicon Valley, India will beat Silicon Valley any time in the next 5 years. We'll have more unicorns coming out in India. So opportunities are what we're working on. India, which spend more than 150 countries in the world in buying arms, is selling arms worth more than 78 countries in the world in the last 5 years. Before that, we used to only buy. We had no technology. We bought from Russia, we bought from America, we bought from Europe, now India, Now we are selling. Mercedes is opening up its shop in India. Tesla was told, no, we are not going to sell your American cars here. Tesla, India has to be starting. As you know, Elon Musk is getting people in India to start Indian factory of Tesla. India can do everything. Starting from Hotmail to AI, everywhere India's stamp is there. So this discussion, we are going to talk about brain drain. Any questions, any opinion, and I keep it open for everybody to take part in this in any field, whether it is pharmaceuticals, whether it is medical, whether it is physicians. There are a lot of physicians. In olden days, physicians used to come to America and then say, why should I go back to India? Because in India they don't do all these things. I have a bunch of my juniors who are in India and we are regularly in talk with them. They are leading hospitals in India because they provide the same care as America. You get a bypass surgery here, it costs you $100,000. You get a bypass surgery in India, it costs you $12,000. Quality, same, maybe even better. With that money, you might even go and stay in Goa for medical tourism for 1 week and get a bypass surgery which is super successful and not have any infection and come back to America saving $90,000. So I'll keep the house open. We have a lot of distinguished Mr. Shah heads GoPio, which is one of the world's largest organization of Indians. And we have Khorasan, we have James. Guys, take over. And anybody in the team, anybody has any questions, feel free to let us know. Why this is important for IAPC is because journalism is one thing I personally believe. If somebody says, do you have an ideology? I say 100% ideology. Is my ideology pro-BJP? No. Is my ideology pro-Congress? No. Is my ideology pro-politics? No. My ideology is how to get every human being what they need. So we should be the conduit as journalists to give them information, not to give our opinion. You can give your opinion. It is on them to take or not to take. So this is an important field that is opening up. People going from here to there, and you know Trump just came out with a $5 million thing, and I am told, and I don't have the actual statistics, every month there are over 1,000 people in India who are buying and coming to America. Whether that is good, bad, I don't want to pass any comments because I don't have personal knowledge of it. Because a lot of people in India can afford 5 million. I think Indian Americans are more poor than Indian Indians nowadays. Though people in India think that money grows in trees in America, you can just go and pluck. Whenever you want some money, go to a tree and just shake the tree and dollars will be falling. That's a common idea people have sitting in India. They don't know the amount of struggle most of us have given in this country. But anyway, I keep it open to the house. Guys, please go ahead.
Let me say a few things. So when you hear something like brain drain, my mind goes back about 50 years. And let me describe that time period to you in a very, very simple way. So that was the time period of a very famous Raj Kapoor song called Mera Juta Hai Japani. You all remember that song. So the song says Mera Juta Hai Japani, Patloon Englistani, Sar pe Lal Topi Rusi, Par bhi Dil Hai Hindustani. So everybody looked at that song and said, wow, he's talking about Dil being Hindustani. Right? But I looked at the other part of the song, where basically it says nothing is made in India. Right? Everything is being imported from India. So that was India of that time period. And then there was this phrase coined called brain drain. At that time, a lot of people were leaving India to go to other countries 50 years ago. And it's still happening, but it was happening much more in those days. So somebody came up with a counter argument saying that it is better to have brain drain than the brain in the drain. You see? So I think the view was that if the brain is not going to be able to utilized in India and is going to not have the success, it's better to let them go abroad and make it a success. So now let us look at that 50 years later. What is the situation today? You go to Silicon Valley and it is replete with people of Indian origin, all the leading scientists, all the top, even now the top companies, all the technology companies are people of Indian origin. But it's not just USA. You go to UK, you go to all the leading countries in the world, take their Silicon Valleys, even Australia. Any country you go to, if you take their Silicon Valleys, it is full of people of Indian origin. The best universities you go to, their professors, the best hospitals you go to, their doctors. Anywhere you go in the world, this is the counterpart of the brain drain. So the brain that drained from India created the Silicon Valleys all over the world. So what does that say? That says that the ability of people of Indian origin and their scientific knowledge, their power, their ability to, in medicine, in teaching, whether it is in technology, whatever field you take, this is a powerful brain. And we need to understand that. I don't think we have understood that as a country. He just mentioned that 125 unicorns are from India. Now what is a unicorn? Unicorn is a company that was recently founded. Some young person from maybe Orissa or Assam came up with some idea, created an app, created a company, registered it in the stock market, and within 2-3 years that company is worth $1 billion or more. Dollars, not translated into rupees, but that dollar value of more than $1 billion. Now that's a very unique achievement. It's a unique achievement even in USA. You know, if you formed a company 3-4 years ago, and if your company is worth $1 billion, that's saying a lot. But when you do that in India, that's saying something 50 times more. And so what I'm saying is that this is happening in India repeatedly. It's not just 1, 2, but 125 already. And probably 5 years later, there'll be more than tens of thousands of such companies. So this is our capability, this is our ability, and we really need to recognize this. So as Gopio, we are looking to do a big seminar in New York City. We are trying to bring scientists from all fields, scientists and engineers and people together, and showcase what India has done all over the world, what Indian brain drain has meant to all these countries all around the world. Right? We have people from Australia. We just did a similar seminar in Australia, where we had a Gopio convention, Brisbane, Australia. And we had 30-40 scientists coming from Australia and showcasing every aspect, every part, whether it's artificial intelligence or robotics or quantum computing, any leading field of science and technology, you have people of Indian origin showcasing their brain power in so many different countries. And I was wonderstruck because I did not expect us to be able to do this in Australia. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I thought Australia is a country of 26 million people. America is one thing. We have all these powerful, institutions and companies. But no, it is there everywhere. Any country you go to, Canada, Australia, UK, European countries, doesn't matter. Wherever you go, you have a lot of people of Indian origin that are there. And we need to showcase that more so that people of our country become convinced what their power is. And only when we get convinced, see, like he said, it's all in the mind. Only when people in India get convinced what they have and what they have given to the world, that they will be able to appreciate themselves and build on it. So to build the future of India, it is important for India to recognize what it is. And I think this brain drain is an important part of the other part of this data. So the brain has been draining, but what it has been producing, that's the other part of it. Thank you so much.
You want to go ahead, James? Or go ahead?
Hi everyone. When I was told this topic, brain drain, I was a little skeptical about how significant is this topic now. We know brain drain has always been a problem of India, but adding to that now, when we talk about brain drain, we have some great institutions in India like IIT, IIM and all. And the best students, they go to these institutions, and they are the best brains of India. They are considered like that. And after completing that, they go to America, UK or Australia or developed countries for a better career opportunity. And that was the main problem that we have been facing. But now what I see is that the scenario has changed now. It is not just the top brilliant brain that's migrating to other countries. Our human resource, because now if you ask to any high school students or what they want to, they all want to migrate to some developed countries. Like they all want to go to UK, USA or Australia. That's the case that we see back in Kerala. In last year, one single agency which is recruiting, sending kids to UK and USA countries like that, one single agency sent about, I think, 60,000, right? In Kochi, they had a meeting of all the students who are going abroad. Just one agency from one state, 60 students. That many, I mean, they just want to go out. It's not the best brilliant brain that's going out. Nowadays, everybody wants, because we know what's the reason. It's mainly for career opportunities. We are a population, we are a country with 1.4 billion population. So career, to get a job, that is our biggest crisis. So if they go out and have an education, they know that they will have a future. So, but the problem is that we have never addressed this issue. Our quality of education, we know the truth. We are still following that age-old traditional teachers-oriented teaching and learning process. Even now, can you imagine that? The teachers come to the class, they speak for 45 minutes, they write things on the board, students take down the notes and they memorize this thing, they reproduce that thing in the test, they get good marks. And that is the tradition. Still, we haven't switched to a child-centered, activity-based teacher and learning process like we have here in America or UK. I'm talking about our primary high school education. But the other side, we have IIT and IIM and all. Let that be there. But our primary education, our high school education and all, we know we still follow this traditionally, this age-old this system. It's time to switch where our education should be child-centered, more activity-based, and even our evaluation. We still follow this. We have this terminal examinations. After 3 months or 4 months, we have a first-time exam, second-time exam, then final exam, where they memorize things. They reproduce. Still, we haven't had a paradigm shift to a continuous and comprehensive evaluation that we have here in US or UK or all these developed countries. We know, we see these things, but still we don't have a strong, determined political leadership there to implement these education system, so how deteriorated our education system, So that needs to be changed, and this career opportunities, with the 1.4 billion population, I don't know, you might have later on some solution to say, but with this kind of population where people after, I remember, how when we finished our bachelor degree and master's degree, how much we struggled to get a job. But again, our education system, another interesting thing about is, here a student, if he wants to be a doctor, he goes to medicine. Or if he wants to be a dentist, he goes to dental program. If he wants to be a veterinary doctor, he go into that program. How does it happen back in India? You take that test, the top scorers will get admission to medicine, and those who are below, they get veterinary, right? The second, and then third one is dental. See, you may not want to be a dentist, but that's a program, depends upon your score. You can get admission only a dental school, so you decide to become a dentist. That's how a person become a dentist back in India. It's not here. You know that if you want to be a dentist, you go into that program. That's a huge difference. So who is to bell the cat? Why we are still not thinking of having a paradigm shift from all this? We need to have a change. The system have to be dismantled and reorganized. I don't know how you all agree with that, but this is a reality. This is a reality. Like, I did my, even now, I used to wonder, we have in our colleges, we still have faculties for history, politics, all these things, social science and all. What you can do after getting a bachelor or master degree in political science? Are you going to be a politician? Do you need a master's degree in politics to be a politician? What do you want to do after getting a bachelor degree or master's degree in history? If you are interested in history, whoever you become, even being a doctor, you can read and learn history, right? I love history very much. I still read. You can read all these things in Google. All this, whatever the history of ancient history or any country's history, anything that we can learn. Being a doctor or being an engineer or being in any other profession, right? Why do you have to go to 3 years of college education, learn a lot of world history, all these things, memorize a lot of years when that Panipat war was there or this and that. You remember the year and the place where all these wars and all happened. You memorize all these things, you reproduce all that thing in an examination paper, and you get a bachelor degree, you get a master's degree, and what you can do after that? You can be a teacher. If you have a master's degree in political science, what you can be? You can be a teacher. If you have a master's degree in literature, what you can do? You can still be a teacher. This is the only job you can do with that. So a work-oriented, job-oriented education, we still have been switched to that. Even I feel like I have a master's degree back from India, but it was all a waste. Like I felt when I came over here. And then I went to physical therapy school here, got a degree, and I was fine, because that is a job-oriented course that I did. That's not the case with engineering or medicine and all. So what I feel that when we talk about brain drain, it is not just our highly skilled and highly educated students coming to this country. Our entire human resource we are losing. Everybody wants to migrate to developed countries, and we need to seriously think about it. We need to find a solution to it, and the solution is we need to restructure our total educational system, and our discussion should guide in that line, I feel. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. That's an excellent presentation. I think that's a very important thing that we also have to know, that they're trying to come with something called the National Education Policy. And I personally believe that I'm not sure how much input is being taken from NRIs, but I strongly believe that they need to take input from NRIs. There's an old saying that if you are a frog in a well, the world is your well. You do not know what is there next door. So unless India takes advantage of this huge number of NRIs outside, their experience, their training, the sort of teachings they do, India and its educational system unfortunately will still be the frog in the well and will never be able to peep out of the well. Thanks Mr. Shah and James for the excellent day. Person want to go forward?
Oh yeah. Well, I think the discussion is going between two different directions now. You're talking about opportunities. When the brain drain comes, you're talking about opportunities. Opportunities, we have, immigration is one thing that people wanting to move from one country to other. You cannot stop it. When there are a lot of people in India, and India cannot afford to pay, give decent job to everyone, they have to migrate. So that's a different situation. And talking about brain drain, that we are talking about the intellectual brain. So that's the strength of the nation, that guides the nation, that's the power of the nation. So if the intellectuals in India, they are opting to move out from India, that's a big brain drain. So I'm worried about that. So like Dr. Basu said, we have a lot of opportunities here, opportunities in US for medical doctors. And I think that, what James was mentioning about the opportunities of immigration, when I was in my school days, the concept was either you had to be a doctor or engineer, or you'll get out from that country. So I tried my medical test, go to the pre-medical test, but I was not getting into any medical school. So I thought that, I can go to an accounting job. That's better for me. I did the accounting degree. For the degree and the master's degree, I never seen a ledger. Where's the debit? Where's the credit? We are all on philosophical thinking about what's debit and what credit is. So the education system, we still very bad state of affair in India, especially in Kerala. So I have to opt out for migrating from India. There's no opportunities for me in India at the time, so I opt out. Recently I went to India. I was talking to my friends there. They are still in the same mode. They want to get out. They don't want their kids loafing around, looking for opportunities. They want to get out too. The situation after 4 decades is not changed there in Kerala. Why? Because of the politics and the leadership has not been changed. Their conceptual thinking about how a nation has to be moved to the future. They are very poor in it, and they don't want to change it. Unless they're not changing it, people will move. One of my friends who was actually we went to school together. So he moved from my hometown to a city. He used to go to library, and he was reading some books on physics and science journals. Somebody was watching. And all of a sudden, after 2 months, he came and said, "Oh, I'm going to the United States." I said, at that point, no bachelors are going to the United States for higher studies. And I asked him, how you got that opportunity? I never heard about this kind of thing. Somebody was watching me in the library, what kind of books I was looking into. And American consulate, they were also watching over who is have the brain power to read that kind of books. They are offering books to kids. And who is reading, they're making notes of it. And they were offering high standards. So this practice was going on, some practices. I know he's still working in the University of Ohio and a PhD in physics with a gold medal. And that's the actual brain drain happening. And that we cannot stop, because if he wanted to, some point of time he wanted to move to Bangalore and set up studies there. he spent 2 years back in Bangalore, making some schools and everything, and he was totally disappointed because the system was not good enough for him to tackle it. So he shifted back. So the brain drain is that the fundamentals of is opportunities, opportunity to develop yourself, your skills, and opportunity to increase your brain power. So I think immigration is a different thing. Migration will happen anytime. So because there are a lot of in India, I think the per capita income of India is like $5,000 US. It's not much bigger than Pakistan or Bangladesh. And whereas United States is at 99,000, I think that. So the per capita income, the division of the contribution, the GDP distribution of every Indian is very poor. So there will always be brain drain, and like Dr. Shah and Dr. Basu said, we have a lot of opportunities, and a lot of brain is going back to India to develop India a better place, and there are a lot of opportunities back in there. The brain drain is on both sides now. It's going on, and it's good for America and good for India. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. That's an excellent presentation. And I think it's true, because I also have examples, as he just said, of people who wanted to go back to India, went back to India, stayed there for 5 years, 7 years, some people 2 to 3 years. Their children took the hit. It was difficult to go from an American school back to Indian school. And they got so frustrated, not with what they're trying to do, but the entire system. They wanted to make a change, they're not allowed to do. Whoever was their boss, they always thought, oh, this guy coming from America is teaching me. I have been doing this for 40 years, so I know more than him. And that's a big block, you know. In this country, the good thing is, okay, somebody comes to me, I say, okay, this is my knowledge. And this is important to bring out, because we as an Indian have this problem. One of the things that Elon Musk once said, that I am employing you not because I am going to order you and you are going to do things. I am employing you because you are going to order me and I am going to do things. So I am employing you for your brain, not to be a robot. India, the mentality is different. If I am employing somebody, he is my slave. He does morning to evening, stand up, sit down, do this, do that, he goes on doing that. And the more he does that, he is a better employee than somebody who has an independent level of thinking. And I think these are some of the things we have. Bromi here, who is in one of the biggest Malayali, Manorama was one of the largest, I think still the largest circulated paper in India.
Largest circulated
vernacular daily in India. So I think these things should be brought, that these changes are very imminent. Yeah. I think 20 years back it was Anandabazar Patrika, and then Manorama defeated them. Till now it is the largest vernacular daily in India. So I think these are some of the aspects that needs to be brought out to the Indian people also. That any development that present government, whether it is at the CPM or communist level or at the central BJP level, in Bengal we have Mamata Banerjee. Political thing is one thing. In this country what happens is that a couple of things that goes together. Politics in its own place. But if you're a distinguished personality in a field, you're given the independence to reach your goal. Whereas in India, even the goal is modified to suit a political purpose. And that's where the problem starts sometimes. But I'll open it up, please. Please just introduce yourself so everybody knows, and then you can.
Hello everybody, my name is Rajul Shah and I live in New Jersey. All talking about brain drain from India to America. I'm going to tell you why I came to America. As a young woman, 52 years ago, I wanted to work in a big company because I have 2 master's degrees. And I was never given that opportunity. So I told my father I want to go to America. More opportunities there. I came here and I really got some excellent opportunities, like most of us. I became director at AT&T. You think I would have gotten that opportunity in India? No. So what I'm trying to say is that we have this problem, so-called. Why can't we be the solution to that problem? You say there are some people who have gone back to India. I have 2 friends who have gone back. They've done excellent. But have they supported other people? Have we supported other people? That, okay, this is a problem, let's go back to India. Let's change the mentality as little as we can. So I really feel that we have to be solution to the problem we have here. It's a big problem, and I'm not saying it's gonna change overnight, but it takes a lot of people, it takes a lot of effort, like you have done in your work, lot of effort. But we really need to address that, and that's one of the things I would like to change in my own capacity with Gopio, because I've become one of the committee chair, and I would like to do that, and I think everybody can do that. So I just wanted to put that point forward.
That doesn't go wrong.
Thank you.
I don't want to use a negative word. If you are a female, it doesn't matter how many PhDs you have. Your job is to stay home and bring up my child.
Absolutely.
That's a waste of resources. Right. This lady 50 years back has done 2 masters. She can run 10 families if given the right scope in India. Just because she's a female, I think she's only fit to sit at home and bring up a child. That's an insult to humanity, not to her. It's other people who have this mentality who are stupid. So I think it is time for us to bring out such changes in the community.
I
agree with that, yes.
And I'll tell you, I'm myself responsible. My wife, when I married her, she did her MSc and she wanted to do PhD. I thought, why should she do PhD? She should sit at home and when we have a kid, she should take care of the kid. And she didn't, after I married, she also decided for 2 years she'll take a break because my son was born. I got my mother, so she was the mother to my child, and then she did her PhD at University of Toronto.
Right.
So today, if I had forced her to stay at home, and she acceded to my request without making me understand, and where did I get this idea? I didn't get this idea by myself. She's the first lady who I married. I didn't have 10 girlfriends before her. I got this idea because the family gave this idea. Oh, you are married, so you will have a wife who will cook for you, who will take care of your child. She doesn't need to have a formal degree. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So the society which makes you like that, we have to break that society. You can be a woman, you can be a corporate woman, you can still have 10 children, and each of your son can be very beautiful and very successful in life and giving back to the country. At the same time, you can be a housewife and have 10 criminal sons. Both are possible.
Yes.
So nothing is stopped if you have the right mentality at the right place. Now, talking about the other thing that Mrs. Shah brought about is that what we are trying to do, and it's important you guys should know. America does not have enough doctors. America needs by 2035, we need almost 80 to 85,000 doctors. There are places in North Dakota, Montana that has no primary care. You have to take a plane to go to a primary care. Why? The closest primary care is 500 miles away. So America will take foreign doctors. Now America doesn't care whether that foreign doctors is coming from Europe or from India. But we know India produces some of the best doctors. They may not have the aid to the latest medicine because India is still, in some places, the hospitals are not good. Medical system, as education system, as James said, Korasan just said, or Prakashji just said, may not be that good. So they may not be updated with the latest in medicine, but they're hardworking students. If I can get into medicine MD out of few lakhs within the first 200, if I get within the first 15 in 1.5 billion nation and do cardiology, so obviously our level is extremely good. So what we are starting is, anybody from India who wants to come to America, they need to have research. Despite doing my ultimate degree in India, I didn't even understand research. Can you believe that? And I did some of the best places in the country. Because in India, if your rank is top, as James said, you can go to anywhere. After that, I did nothing of research. I came to this country and then I got trained in different places. I got trained at Harvard. I was a faculty at Harvard. I got trained in Tulane, faculty at Tulane, Baylor. And then I learned what research is. So today when they are taking Indian medical graduates, the first thing they say, oh, you are a medical graduate. India is a good country. They have a good medical system. But what about research? You don't have any research, so I cannot take you. I take somebody from Germany, I take somebody from France because they have research. And you will agree, all of you will agree with me, 20 years back, ask a German to speak English, he cannot speak good English. Ask a Frenchman to speak English, he cannot speak good English. Today they speak very good English. Why? Because everybody wants to come to America. So why would I choose an Indian despite not having research when I can take a French or a German? So we have to help our country. So we started this program where we take medical doctors from India. We don't tell medical doctors to come to America because America is heaven. That is lies. Those who want to come to America, we do both ways. Those who want to come to America, they come to America. They get trained here. If they want, they stay back. Those who want, and I have a lot of juniors who are actually heading hospitals in India. They have gone back to India. There are people who, out of the 3 top cardiologists in Bangalore, they are all trained in this country. They are in Bangalore. They are doing excellent job. But we train these kids from medical school into research so that they can be taken in the American society. They can compete. It's a shame we are coming from India and having one of the best medical education. You cannot compete just because India lacks in research. And as James correctly said, my teacher used to come with note, which was 40 years old when he was a student. The white paper has become yellow and he reads from that note. And unfortunately, that is even not talking about the school. Forget about IIT. I mean, other places still that happens. In medical schools it still happens, what you are talking about. Still the same thing. They bring their own notes that they learned 70 years back and they are going to teach you from that notes. So the mentality needs to be a change. Anybody? Yes?
I would like to hear the perspective from Dr. Vemirmurthy. Probably among all of us must have come to this country far longer than all of us sitting here. I would like to get his perspective on brain drain.
Not really.
Would you please?
I'm so impressed. Thank you for the panel members. But I think this is the right time for us to discuss about the brain drain. As you all know, as you were mentioning, Dr. Shah, the concept of brain drain is just seeking the opportunities outside. And now I think, my perspective is, it's not just from India or United States or from United States to England or something like that. And we are focusing mostly on medical education, IATs and all that, We have to look at the global perspective. They always used to say, I'm an Amazonian. So they always used to say IATs and AIMS, they are the machineries of exporting the best quality of physicians and intellectuals from United States. But doing my visits, frequent visits as visiting professor at various medical institutes, including the AIMS, I strongly feel that the brain drain and the opposite of it, called the brain gain, the country gains, so is so difficult to define, and especially in this changing era of knowledge sharing and all that. So not one country can claim that it has the superiority for the brain drain. The country, I don't know how many of you know, the one country which has the largest brain drain, can anybody mention? It is the Polynesian country, Samoa. It's not India. It's not in every country. Yes, as Dr. Shah was saying, 50 years ago when I was there, people go to other countries, forget about India or United States or anything, because we want for several reasons. Most of them are selfish. I want to make money. I want to settle my family. and some of people like us, okay, I will have more scientific opportunities. So, and of course, the persecution from the governments and all that. But again, as you said eloquently, we are talking about the intellectual transfer, the transfer of the knowledge, I would say, without saying a particular person. The knowledge is universal. And so when we talk about the brain drain, we are strictly talking about highly skilled people with somewhat more intelligent way of their contributions to any place. So that has done radical changes. India recently, for the past 10 years or so, has changed so radically, all from the perspective of the intellectual projects and all that the governments are now trying to make sure that we are on par with the Western world. There is, for example, again, my subject is cardiac arrest, cardiology, as well as some of the things research. There is so much of research material in India, and there is so much of leverage. There are so many opportunities that people like us from United States or England or Canada go and share with. So it is now, instead of saying brain drain, and we can always adopt the theory or the concept of exchange of the information, and there are no barriers. And as you said, people are going back to India for different reasons. Most probably, these are the people who are well-to-do in India, and they got a family in India, and they got very strong relational roots. So the people go for different reasons. And again, confining just to the intellectual transfer of the property and all that. And I think, this is the best time for us to realize that if you have the capacity of contributing something to your own country, you really don't need to, be in favor of brain drain and going to United States or Canada, And again, Dr. Indranil Basure is a pioneer in yoga as well as in cardiology. And there is no other person to my knowledge, that has got so much of in-depth grasp of this particular kind of mixing of the yoga and knowledge. And so we really have to understand that the concept of brain drain will eventually change from the concept of just going to one country and settling there. And so this is a great opportunity for all of us to brainstorm this thing. And again, where the brain drain is subject to, as you know, so many political restraints. If you don't get visa, you don't come here. So these are all the things. Plus, a lot of people like, I came to United States in 1980. So being an Amazonian, my main reason of coming here is the so-called brain drain. I got more opportunities of doing some research in the cardiac things and all that stuff, Not that there is no clinical material in India, but at that point, India could not offer what I wanted in 1980s. Now there are so many drastic changes, just an eye-opener. Thanks to, politicians in some states, and thanks to the informational exchange. Yes, we used to live in silos, and that silos are beginning to slowly get dissolved. So, like in the same thing with journalism. I will talk about it more in the later, but my brother, he was in Times of India in 1970s and 80s. He was a foreign correspondent. And the thought process of journalists is much more different and better, from some of the people, that we, like a physician thinks only about the physician things. Whereas the power of the journalism, I have realized with my own research experience, and when we had to do some research on sudden cardiac arrest, we don't know how many people die. They say, okay, people die in India because of sudden cardiac arrest, but we don't know the reason. So myself and my research colleagues from India, so we did the study for 3 years of collecting 10 years of data from almost like 20 newspapers. And whenever says, there is a death. So we always used to, go and collect that information. It took us 2 years. And that was also produced, as one of the research papers in one of the top journals in India, Journalism, has a potential. Again, the reference is obvious. When you talk about the brain drain, and the journalism is also a conduit, to exchange the information, getting the information. You can always say, well, at Harvard they are doing this, why don't you do it here? Or you can say, at AIMS New Delhi, these are the things that are doing. And why don't you do it in some other country, So you are the ones, and you are the ones who really need to, be the flag bearers, and send the information, talking about the brain drain. And you can say, again, coming back to India, the condition in India has drastically changed. Research perspective, from the viewpoint of economy, it is going to be one of the best economies, and I know how, our people in India, they are so resilient. You put them on Mars, they will survive. And talking to our own, Sunita Williams and everybody, and I'm just kidding, So our people are survivors. The same thing, I have got a lot of respect, for some of the states, like the most literate state ever since, in 1950s and 60s, has been one state. And I don't want to mention that is Kerala, the most illiterate state. Now, the thing is, the people from Kerala, especially I can talk about the nurses and all that stuff, whom I worked, most of the workforce of the nurses, especially at AIMS, almost 40% to 50% in 1980. They used to be from Kerala. They're brilliant, they're hardworking, and they are so flexible to work any kind of years. Now they went and settled in Middle East. But again, it is not just a brain drain to Middle East. It is brain gain for Kerala, because they pumped in all the financial gains to Kerala. So that should be the concept. Wherever you go, you can do better than any other place. India, my God, when I go to India, and these people, they are at some places, they are so happy. As Dr. Basu was mentioning, some of the institutes, the medical institutes, again, I have got a very limited knowledge about only medicine I can talk about. These people, these institutes are on par with any of the institutes here. And so, again, thank you all for this opportunity to express my feelings, but it is the journalism. And I know the impact, the power of journalists throughout the world, which can definitely give a lot of push, for the brain drain or brain drain topics, And thank you for giving this opportunity for me.
Welcome.
In my point, my name is Thomas. In my point, most of the time the family and social system are play a huge role of the brain drain. Especially now we are giving more priority to medicines and engineering in our native country, especially based on social status. But we are not looking the kids' talents, creativity, and we are not giving priority to the innovations. That's one of the reason many people are migrating from India to Canada. The family pressure, that's one of the bigger reasons. They cannot pursue their passion. So no innovations, so we don't have any entrepreneurs or any industries in India. In Canadian education, they give more priorities to kids' talents. So we have more innovations, more industries here. In India, so due to we are focusing on social status and other areas, we don't have any other opportunities. We are living like a working class people there. Another one is in Kerala, our mindset is working class mindset. We are not promoting any entrepreneurship. So if we need to get an opportunity, we need to move out from Kerala or move out from India. That is another reason. Our education is good. I was a teacher in India 2 years. In 2005, we had DPP education. In DPP education, usually it promotes students' talents, innovations, research, and other skill-based training or competency-developed training. But after they completed their 10th standard, the kids has the pressure to pursue engineering or medicine. That is our mindset has the main reason. We are not allowing the students to pursue their own talented areas. So we want the students are looking for more opportunities. So most of them are migrating to US and Canada. One more thing, in Canada, most of the diploma education is lower standard than India. They are only giving education for making money. But the frustrated Indian students usually migrate to Canada for studies, because in Canada the students are getting more social welfare programs than other better supportive environment. But due to these reasons, every issue has two sides. In the higher education purpose, your point is valid in a doctor field or nursing field. But other low diploma levels, our Indian education is to some extent that is promoting students' developments also. I think caste system and social hierarchies play a huge role for brain drain.
Yes, good point. Any other questions?
We have, yeah, go ahead. Then I'll get Mr. Vyas is there. He spent some time in India. That's what bring up here. So we'll get his opinion about brain drain also. Okay. Go ahead, Mrs. Shah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Doctor, you had mentioned that there were no doctors available within so many miles in Montana. With due respect to you, I felt a little bit my intelligence insulted, because if you look in India, how many doctors we have in those small villages? How many people are dying? Have we done anything for them? The only organization, I'm sure you guys know more, but the organization that I know, Sharon Care, when they go to these doctors go to India, when they come back, they are in tears. They talk to us and they say, Raju, we only have 200 people, and here are 200,000 that still need help. What I'm saying is that, again, repeating myself, we have to be part of the solution. We have problem. I'm sure there are many, many organizations. Everybody knows a lot of social organizations. Let's take this up very seriously because brain drain, brain retain, all this is important. I also came here to earn more money and also not having opportunities. But have I done something back home? I'm doing it what I can in my capacity, and everybody does it. I'm sure we will be able to solve a little bit of India's brain drain problem. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. We have for 70 years we are drained from India to America. Now we are having reverse drain also. I'm one of the ones who's experienced both.
Both sides, yeah.
So I wanted to get your perspective.
Just to give a background to all of you.
You can have a seat and take.
That's right. It's okay. I like, you know.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
It's a broadcast journalist.
Okay.
I grew up in America. When I was born in Baroda. When I was a month old, my parents brought me to Washington, D.C. That's where I grew up in this country. Then about 10 years old, 11 years old is when they took me back to India because they didn't want me and my sister, who was born here at the time, didn't want us to become completely American. They said, let's take these kids back so they can get some Indian, you know, some of their Indian heritage in them, which we did. We went back, I did my schooling, my college in part of it in Calcutta, the schooling in Calcutta, then Delhi, and went to university and came back to Washington, D.C. to pursue my master's in communications and all the rest of it. At that time, when I was in Delhi, in the early 70s, the brain drain was happening. I think the first wave of Indians that were coming into the United States, I heard you all mention, were the nurses from Kerala, which incidentally today is 98% literate, I think, if not 100%. the state of Kerala, 98% all the nurses were coming in. Doctors had begun, but before the doctors, it was the architects and engineers who were moving in from India to the United States. Why were they doing so? It was because there were no opportunities in India at that time. India was a fledgling country, even though it had been many decades since independence. It was still a fledgling nation from my own understanding and reading of it at the time. And there were a lot of people who were unemployed. And so they looked for opportunity, and this was a country that began to open up. Incidentally, my father, whose name was Dr. Pramod Vyas, was the man who drafted the bill, and it's known as the Hart-Celler Bill, which in '65 opened up immigration to Indians and to South Asians. Until then, there were restrictions and caps on how many people from South Asia or Indians in particular could come into this country. It was a similar thing that was happening to the wider East Asian community, that's the Chinese and Vietnamese, etc., etc. So the brain drain occurred, and it was a very natural process. People were not able to get jobs. There were so many qualified Indians in India, extremely intelligent people, but imagine being unemployed after going to school, college for so many years, and having hopes and aspirations and not. So this, I believe now, was a natural transition. People needed opportunity. They came in from India, came into the United States. This was one of the countries that opened up. Subsequently, Australia, where we just returned from a trip, and other nations, England, opened up to Indian intelligence. Today, I don't see any drains happening, honestly. Today, I see it as a brain exchange with India and Indians in particular, whether we're in the United States or anywhere in the world. We're a powerhouse of brains. And we were talking about the brain just today. I was talking with these two doctors and Mr. Shah here. We were discussing the power of the human brain. I think nowhere is the power of the human brain more evident than in a country like Indians, or in a country like India, or among the Indian population itself. You look at all of you, the way you speak, the way you think, it's something to be proud of. Every one of us, whether you're from the northern part of India originally, the eastern, the western, the southern, especially the southern, brilliant people coming in right now. The whole, Andhra, Telugu group that's coming into this country in this new wave over the past few years is absolutely amazing to see. So I don't see a brain drain anymore. Look at the top corporations in the United States. Prakash Shah, incidentally, was one of the first Indian corporate seniors in this country. Yeah, he led American Express's, one of American Express's most important divisions back in the 70s. I know it personally because I know him. He knew me before I ever got married. Now I'm a grandfather. But I think this is a great opportunity for India. It's a great opportunity for the Indian diaspora to showcase itself, which it is doing now. I was saying the CEOs of some of the major US corporations are all of Indian origin. Why? Because they are brilliant people. And I think America got to realize it, the corporate structure realized it. My gosh, if you want to have a CEO, get them from India. They're all from the IITs, they're from the MITs, like Ajay Banga and the rest of them, Satya Nadella. Bring him in. So I don't see a problem, frankly. I don't see any more of a brain drain. And to your point about journalists, it is extremely important. And first of all, this evening I believe I'll be, I want to thank them all for inviting me for this evening's event. Journalism, I should have been in the American media, but I wasn't. I deliberately did not go into it. I wanted to stick with the Indian ethnic media, and I was the editor of what was known as News India back then, the first paper that was run by Nari Hira, and after that India Abroad, which was actually the first paper. I was the editor of both papers. People said to me, "You're an American guy, why are you sticking with the Indian media?" I said, because here's what's happening. What had happened during this brain drain and this India trying to get people back, etc., was by being the editor of these papers, I had become the central focus of the entire diaspora reaching out to me. I realized how important I had become to my community. The Indians were able to communicate with me. Apparently I could communicate with them. They knew my byline. At that time it was print media. And if there was a problem, Indian getting arrested for some immigration thing which he was innocent of, the first call, they would be allowed one phone call from prison. And that call was made to Rohit Vyas. And I would take the call, "What's your problem?" "I need help. I don't have an attorney. I've come to the US to be an architect. They've arrested me in immigration. Can you help?" And that's why I stuck with the what was called the ethnic media derogatorily by all the others. "Oh, you guys are ethnic media." However, each one of you who are journalists here with the so-called ethnic media are actually playing a much more important role Because all of a sudden, our community is so internationally well known, and it's because of the ethnic media. It's not because of mainstream media or the media in India. It's because of the ethnic media that have been projecting. That's what we were doing, making sure that the achievements, that the brilliance of our community was known. We would publish it in India abroad. In News India, show them. When Space Shuttle Columbia went up, my editorial team, we sat together. I said, there has to be an Indian behind this. Let's research. And then our marketing chief, he showed me a check. He says, here, we got a guy from the Johnson Space Center. He wants to subscribe to India Abroad. And we said, let's find him. And it turned out, this was a South Indian gentleman or a Maharashtrian gentleman who had designed the shuttle arm that goes out into space and retrieves objects, puts them out there, things like that. He played a key role nobody knew about. So at that stage, I realized, my gosh, we ethnic media are the only ones who will go and highlight how fantastic our community is. And so I just wanted to combine these two things to let you all know that what we're discussing is extremely important. But right now, thanks to ethnic media and thanks to the brilliance of our community, there is no longer a brain drain, rather a brain exchange. And we're going back helping them, they're back here helping us, and we're helping the whole world. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thanks, Rohit, for excellent view. Go ahead.
I just want to ask you, all of you, a question. The thing is, this is the practical problem I face as the president of some organization like Chicago Medical Society and Indo-American Medical Association, and having heavily involved with RP2 at the academic level. See, my concern is, it's not really a concern, but actually the second generation, third generation of diaspora, they think in a different perspective. Like, some of my family members who happen to be here, and then physicians and engineers and all that stuff. They are in the, as you said, they are in the mainstream. They are in the mainstream of United States. The same thing when I talk to my nephews and nieces from England, they are in the mainstream. Same thing with people from my family, who settled in New Zealand and all that. They are in the mainstream of that particular country, They don't seem to be very much concerned, or I shouldn't say care. They care, but in how you can, as journalists, educate them about the roots, as well as what their future plans are. The second generation of our own diaspora, so their thinking is definitely not the same as ours. So it is very hard for me and Dr. Basu to bring the second generation of medical doctors, to bring into the mainstream. They recognize themselves with the American medical system, which is 100% I support, 100%. So when you are talking about a big topic, which is crucial to us, because we have come from India, we are part of the brain drain. So how would you like to educate them or take the input? Like, for example, in this panel, we don't have a second generation person here. So I think it is very important for us to bring them into our fold, and then
I have an answer to that. Actually,
Me too. I have an answer.
as a broadcaster, as TV Asia's news anchor, main news anchor, etc., the advantage I found out, this is from viewer feedback, the advantage I had was that because I was an American and an Indian with an understanding of both, I had multi-generations following me. I can't tell you how many times today when I go out on the highways, etc., and Indians with kids suddenly see me, say, Mr. Vyas, I grew up watching you, and today I'm so second generation Indians. And now he says, I've got kids, and you're not there on TV right now, I wish you were because I want my kids to see you. I had the distinct advantage and privilege and the honor to be able to be watched by different generations. And parents used to come up to me, such as yourself, sir. They used to come up to me and say, listen, thank God you're on the air in the Indian sphere, because our kids understand you. They understand the way you're talking. So when you talk about India and things Indian, etc., our children are learning from you, and that's why they're watching you. Otherwise, they'll disappear into the screen. So I've got a lot of accusations now that I've left TV Asia, that, you've abandoned us in a friendly way, people say. They said, without you now we have nobody to communicate. I said, well, there'll be others, but I'm doing other things now. and educating people now through documentary films is what I'm doing. But I had that privilege of trying to connect both. It's not difficult. There are a lot of us. Yes, your generation would have a tougher time because you're all from India. But people like me, I think, can go out there and still trying to impart that knowledge to the younger ones, speaking to them in their lingo and telling them, don't forget your heritage. I do it with my own daughters. And they're both grown-up ladies, and I tell them, listen, don't forget your heritage, your roots. Our generation, my dad, etc., they came from a different generation altogether. They've had their own set of struggles.
Yeah. So I have a notion about that also. So I think it is not so important that my children, your children, they're all the same situation, right? So that they become active participants in transferring something to India or taking this or bringing it back. What's more important, I think, is for us to highlight what we are. Because what is lacking in India is self-confidence. Okay? If they gain the self-confidence, there is plenty back in India. With all this brain drain, it is not as if India is starved of any brain. Right? There's plenty back there. And just this example of 125, companies.
Unicorns.
Unicorns. 125 unicorns. That this is like a year old, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Today it may be like 200 companies.
Yeah, maybe more than 200. This is
so,
2003.
Just that one example shows you that there is plenty back there. But it is lacking in confidence. And by bringing together, just periodically on one platform, what India and Indians are all over the world in terms of contribution to artificial intelligence, quantum computing, robotics, medicine, even nurses. If you bring this together on one stage periodically, you showcase and highlight. And that showcasing and highlighting will in turn create the confidence. And it is all in the mind. And it is all in the confidence. And if that confidence is created, it will mushroom. Okay? It will happen on its own. We don't have to worry about anything else.
It's a good point I think all of you brought in. I'll just give one experience that I had. So last year I did a 5-day, I do meditation workshops. But my meditation workshops, fortunately till now, is not that I can have a bunch of disciples whose money I can take and become a super rich guru. First of all, my meditation things are free. You come and you have it in a hotel, of course you have to pay for the hotel. I can't pay for you. But I don't charge anything. And I'll give you 2 examples how this is. So last year I did it in San Jose. So I had almost 32 people, including the chief of AI at Google. There's another guy, at that time he was working in a company which I'd never heard of. And I'll tell you what the company is. The company is now called Perplexity. So the founder of Perplexity came to do his PhD 5 years ago at Berkeley. And in 1.5 years now it's a $2.3 billion company. Indian from Madras, Chennai, just came to do his PhD, now it's a $2.3 billion company. So while talking, what they told me is that the concept I think all 3 of you has brought in is this, both Dr. Murthy and Rohitji and Prakashji is, I think the concept of brain drain actually is gone. Because nothing is draining from anywhere. This is one universe, one planet, one place.
Exactly. That's my point.
So when I started, that's what I said, that if you talk about brain drain, there's bilateral brain drain. What does this mean? America is losing people, India is gaining, India has lost people, America is gaining. Yep. The question is, as I started my essay, if I have to sit in Rohit Vyas's chair to express everything I need, why should I not change my seat? Give me one reason. So geography cannot be a limiting factor in today's world. Does that make sense? So that is what it is. So so while talking in that 5-day meditation, he told me about an incident. I was surprised. he was flying to Brazil or Colombia, one of the South American countries, I don't remember which one. And whichever country he went, they had a group of, in Colombia, I think, there are a group of prostitutes whose kids, they were funding, Google was funding to teach them latest education, give them laptops. I mean, see, a lot of these third world country people do not become prostitutes because they wish to have that profession. They are forced by circumstances. So he was going there, and then one of those ladies, she's old now, she's like, at that time she was old, she was almost 78, 80, she had her own house, so he invited her to her house, and then she showed the picture. So this is my son. So what does he do? Well, he was here, he did his PhD, joined a job here, and now, where is he now? He's saying he is now an assistant professor at Columbia University, a prostitute's son. In India it will be a big thing, oh my God. Why? Because our mentality is always like that. If somebody succeeds, what adjective we can use to bring him down? Oh, your mother is this, your color is that, oh, your race is that, oh, you are a female. There's always an adjective.
Caste.
There is a caste, there's a religion. Like, I am a Hindu myself and I have no shame in telling. I talk to multiple temples. In this country, you see a lot of churches in the northeast has become ghost houses. Why? Because the Christian community is not spending on the future. You're spending millions of dollars to bathe Narayan or Shiva in milk. Use that milk to fund the Indian population who is poor, or the American population who is poor, or the flowers you are bringing from Chennai to the Narayan doesn't need that flower. Shiva does not need that flower. You can use $5,000 they spend every day, FedEx, because I am in the headquarters of FedEx, to bring flowers to put on Narayan's neck. Narayan would have been super more happy if you used that $5,000 to feed those poor Indians.
Absolutely. Or Americans.
Or Americans.
Absolutely correct. I agree with that 100%.
So this is a shame. So our culture, as I agree with what Rohit says, it is not that we need second or third generation to come and help us. What is our generation doing? And what Mr. Shah just said, what is our generation doing? We are no dearth of wealth. We are the richest cohort in America. We earn $40,000 more than an average white Americans. What are we? We are piling that dollar inside sofa sets. So after we die, we have come naked in this world, we'll go naked. You are not going to go with 10 Teslas and 12 Mercedes. Are you? No, you can't take it to the other side. So what are you putting that wealth for? Look at the museums in Washington. Any of them belongs to the government? Government of America has not spent a single cent for those billion-dollar museums. Whether it's the anthropology museum or the space museum, they all come from donations. And who does donations in India? Billas or Tatas to hide their crime, and they'll make a temple. So they'll do sin all their lives and they'll do a temple to clean up their sin. That's not how you do. That is not how a society grows up. A society grows up by giving. So I think those are the introductions that we needed to bring to this concept. But I think it's before we finish, I think one man who's hiding in front of me, I have to catch hold of him. Let's get Ajay. Ajay is one of the most experienced, and I have great respect for him. 2 words from you, Ajay.
I think it's a very timely and lively discussion that we have been having. Sorry. And we have heard very insightful thoughts and personal life experiences here. I think many legends are here who have been pioneers, who left India for a greater cause and also for looking for a greater future for them, for the community, and for all of us. And we walk in their footsteps as all of us have come newly here. Many of us are new here to this country. We walk in their footsteps and follow what they have shown us, and if not become as great as they are, but in a small way we all can contribute to make this land be greater and our families prouder and our community even more proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I just had a question when you asked about the second generation and third generation of Indians. Actually, what is your expectation about the second generation and third generation of Indians growing up here? I mean, like the American concept is melting pot, right? They want people to disintegrate into the society here. Yeah, I think every immigrant community should be doing that. What do you, I mean, what is your suggestion? Whether we should be isolated, our next generation also be isolated and growing up in Indian culture and Indian thing, or slowly integrate into the American society, and like they say, the melting pot should be, melting our next generation.
Well, I will tell you, from my perspective, I think, we are all universal now. And we should not be limited by just being called one particular nation, whether you are a United States citizen or Indian citizen or US citizen of Indian origin. I think, we have opened up our mind. As I mentioned, there should not be any silos. For example, the exchange of information that you get from one particular country is inadequate for the sustenance of the humankind. I can speak, for example, the COVID-19 has opened up our eyes to the universal concept of exchange of information, research, and resources. And that is equally applicable to any other kind of concept. Now, it is purely psychological. We lived in India since when? We don't know. 2,000 years, 3,000, 5,000, we don't know. So our brains are completely, totally programmed with the kind of human experiences we had all over these decades and so many centuries, and we are very proud of it. But again, when you bring your children, or when the second generation is growing up here, they are in such a big stressful state, more than we did, our generation. We had stress as a medical student, as a physician in India, yes, stress is universal. But when you look at the society has changed to the extent that they want stress to be a factor for their advancement. Like, the sleep pattern, for example, an average second generation person working for an IIT, or any kind of physician, like a resident, they don't get enough sleep. They should be highly competitive, and they have got a lot of ambition and resources, which we never had. And so the bottom line is, my expectation is that I think, the first generation also have to be a little more flexible in accepting what the second generation wants. They have to go with their flow, because they don't have enough time to, for prayer or enough things. In spite of the fact we tell them, they are very proud of us. Like in my own family, it's a very cultural advantage for us if you tell the same thing, your heritage, and they are very proud of it. But at the same time, in a society where stress plays a very major role, of which they can't control, and they have got so much of time to spare, even for thinking, so I think I don't wish that, but that is going to happen. The second generation, third generation, fourth generation will be much more adapted into the mainstream of US or UK or any other kind of country, And that is a very practical. We cannot ask them. Yeah. I cannot ask. Suppose you will say, I know the days, in India, where you have to do a puja or something, you can postpone anything. Here you cannot tell your boss, you are a big Silicon Valley CEO, you cannot say, well, 8 to 9 I cannot come. So that is the thing, I think that we have to be also flexible. Again, we talk about the neuroelasticity. You have to be flexible. And the human life is a question of adjustment. And adjustment is very important for us. And the same thing, I learned lessons from the second generation. And that's how we should be more open.
Can I just add to that, give you an example again? First of all, heritage defines character. And that's why you need to pass it on to your generations. My grandchildren, my son-in-law is Irish. Right? He's a 6'5" Irish guy. My daughter's a short Indian girl. And my two boys are white boys. Okay? They know Sanskrit shlokas. My wife made sure we teach them, and they recite the shlokas. their prayers, etc. They're part of America. They go to American schools, they're American kids. But they do that because the heritage must be passed on, and I'm hoping my boys develop a solid character like the rest of our family.
Yes.
And in any culture, whether it's Italian American, Jewish, you'll see the Jewish Americans doing that. They're very, very particular about their culture and heritage being passed on to generations, and they maintain it. The Italians do too. In their dining practices and everything, they do the same thing. The French, Danish Americans, Amish country right here, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
They maintain very strong roots to their Danish culture. So I think it's very important that heritage be passed on. It defines your character.
We'll have Thomas say something. Yeah, we'll come to you, and then we'll slowly roll it up. We'll wind up.
Yeah.
Thomas, please.
For me, I'm a social worker in Canada. Right now, we are correcting our past mistake. I will tell you the 3 case histories. One is indigenous population in Canada. Second one is black population in Canada. Third one is Indian population in Canada. Why Indian population Indian population in Canada or US is more successful? The reason is we are following our roots, we are keeping our identity and culture. We have a strong family bondage. That's why we are more successful in India, in Canada and US. But what happened to indigenous populations and black community? They follow the North American style of living. They lost their identity. Also, we are also right now correcting our mistake, especially many indigenous students were compelled to study in residential school. Due to this reason, they lost their cultural background. Now, many of the indigenous populations are facing poverty. In the crime rate is too high in indigenous population. Then most of the blacks and indigenous kids are in jail right now. Also, they have the more substance abuse issues. What happened is they lost their identity due to colonization, intergeneration traumas, and they lost their cultural identity. If you don't follow the cultural identity right now, maybe after 3 to 4 generations later, or 4 to 5 generations later, maybe we will also the situation like indigenous or black communities, because we lost our identity. If also they are facing the social location, why we are getting social respect in our community? Because of a social location. If we marry to another community, or if our financial background is another issue, employment is another issue. If we lose the social identity, usually socially excluded from the dominant community or dominant people. What happened? People usually stay away from the community. They will live in the loneliness, and then they try to live in a isolated lifestyle. What will happen? The community will degrade due to loss of cultural identity. Then I think we should follow our cultural heritage, because I think one of the African leaders previously said that we should follow Indian philosophy. They follow the cultural identity of after the colonization. In India, we follow the cultural identity of India, but we follow the technology education of US. What we can do is we can follow education system of US and Canada. We can follow the technology of Canada, but we can keep our identity. Otherwise, our community will perish within 2-3 generations later.
Yeah. No, you are absolutely right. Only one correction I think a little differently. So the educational problem in India is transitory for the last 200 to 300 years. We had invasions, then we had British rule. But if you look at the older ones, today, who are believers in the Upanishad and this philosophy? I'm not talking about religion, nobody cares about religion. But the concept that the whole universe is one, there is multiple universes, these were there 10,000 years back. The yoga, today in my subject was the most researched subject in the world, cardiology. My subject is now getting beaten by yoga because there are over 1,000 papers coming out every day. So our education system was very good. But in the last 1,000 years, this has got eroded for different reasons, and we have come to that. So I think, I wouldn't say that our education is anything bad. We have to follow what we had before. But let's not, you have one more, please go ahead, sir. You wanted to say something?
I am Ravindra Narayanan. world water researcher turned climatologist. Many of my research and development papers on seawater desalination were published by International Desalination Association, Massachusetts, since 95, in UAE, 97 in Spain, and 97 again in Kuwait Research and Institute. Because of my paper writing about seawater desalination, I was compelled to reveal corruptions, environmental protection, because during 93 I got a small book about environmental protection written by Dr. Vignesh from Madras. So because of my paper writing, I lost my job from Abu Dhabi government, and meantime I had visitors of UK, Spain and America. So I came to America during 97, November 24th. I wrote to Madam Albright, then Secretary of State, and she sent me a compliment card that America is giving 28,000 green card in E1 category, extraordinary ability in the field and science and technology. And they told me to wait 120 days. Within that days, my visit was expired. I paid money for it, but they didn't renew it. Because I was not having a corresponding address, so I lost my address. I went to Orlando INS, told them I didn't get that letter. They told me...
Sir, can we just talk about the topic, because we are already delayed. We have another program coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, please say what your opinion about brain drain.
During 2009, I submitted one paper to Croatia, Dubrovnik 2009 conference, connections of mushrooming our desalination system in the Middle East and environmental disasters around the world. That was a 47-page paper submitted, conducted by UNESCO, the Club of Rome, and 9 World University. They approved for presentation on the stage.
Very good.
Yeah, stop. You have to stop there. I'm sorry. Yeah, you have to move to your last word. Yeah.
Thank you. I think yourself, you said it so well. We are talking about two different things, apples and oranges. We are not talking about heritage. We have a very proud of our culture and heritage. In Sanskrit, Swadharme nidhanam shreyah, paradharmo bhayavaha. You stick to your culture, you stick to your heritage, you are proud of it. And that's what makes your character, which you said so many times, is very important. It's not anything else. But today's discussion is not about heritage. Today's discussion is about the brain drain, the intellectual things. So my comments are strictly related to the intellectual things. Intellectually, whatever you have to do it according to your company, your hospital, and your country of adoption.
Thank you guys. I appreciate everybody for taking this. This is one of the very interactive, and I really appreciate that each and every one of you took part in this. And thank you all very much.